Hey artists, today we're going to be making our own desert picture. We're going to be looking at the colors and plants and just the kind of feeling and mood we get from the desert, and we're going to create our own amazing desert pictures. So follow along with me and I'll show you all the steps. To get started, we are going to use a pencil to just kind of sketch out our desert. Now, your desert might have some mountains. The mountains are not like the big mountains. They're going to be a little more short and flat. And you might even see, I'm going to draw that horizon line. You might even see something that we call plateaus. And those are going to be shaped like tall, kind of flat mountains that stack up on each other. So they kind of stack up like this. And just a really neat thing we see in the southwest of the United States that looks kind of like mountains, but then might have some little cactuses on top. And then in the background, we might have a sunset happening. Down here, we can start adding some of those cool cactuses. And a lot of times, those are shaped like this. They go up and have like little fingers that come up almost. So you can have a little cactus and you can put the flowers on them. And the spikes on them. I'm gonna go ahead and erase this extra one because it's starting to look more like a hand. That looks better. So you can have these kind of cactuses. Now, as things get further away, they're gonna get smaller. So you can just draw that kind of tall, skinny part and then add the little side parts that grow out. Sometimes pieces will be skinnier or taller. Then we erase the lines inside so you could have a little cactus back there. Another kind of cactus, now I can have these be up really close to the page, are the ones that kind of look like big fans. And they all connect in little pieces together. So you could have these little cactuses and they're gonna have their little spikies. Another cool kind of cactus are the ones that come up and have like also that big loop, but on the top they have the really bright orange spikies on top. So the plants in the desert are pretty unique. We could put another little hill here and we can put some more of those cactuses back here. But anything you add ends up looking really nice to have these little green guys in this dry desert. So there's another little cactus. Looking good. And as you go, you could also have some of the little, just the little brush plants that come up. It's going to be your choice how you want to draw the different plants in your desert picture. I think the most exciting part is when we add the color. So we'll be adding lots of warm colors, lots of sunset colors. The dirt and the land has lots of warm colors in it too, so it gets really fun to draw a cool desert picture. Another kind of plant that's fun to draw is the ones that kind of have the spikes that go up like this. So you could put one of those. So it's going to be your choice to just add different plants in. You can have these big ones up close, and when we go back here, we know they're going to be pretty tiny. Like if I wanted one of these cactuses way back here, it's going to be so tiny because he's so far away. All right. once you're done with your sketch and you have as many plants as you want, you have some mountains or some plateaus, then you are ready to add some color. To start coloring, we're going to work on the sky first. You can choose if you want to do cool colors or if you want to do kind of a warm color sunset. So you could have the cool colors like it's the evening and it's getting darker with like purples and blues and greens. I'm going to do a warm color sky. And so to do that, we can leave a little bit of space. This isn't an I have to color the whole thing in perfectly, because we are going to add a little bit of water on top of these markers to make that kind of painted look sky. So there can be these little spaces in here, and I can put some color here. I don't want to get it on my plateau or my plants, but I put a little yellow. And to work on the sunset, I can put a little bit of orange. And you can see I'm using the side of my marker and just leaving a lot of blank space. Because that way when I add a little water on top, it'll smooth it out and look really cool. Just adding a little red. And then I think I'm going to top the sunset off with some purple. So I'm going to take my purple and just kind of smooth it over and work it into the sky using some long strokes back and forth and blending them together. All right, so you can use a paintbrush if you have a paintbrush. If you don't have a paintbrush, you could use a Q-tip. And if you don't have Q-tips at your house, you could just take a little roll of paper towel and wad it together and use that to add a little bit of water to the background. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water, not too much, and I'm just going to smooth these colors together. And it ends up looking really cool, like we've got some watercolor paint when we actually are just using our marker. So I'm just swirling them together, melting these colors together, going back and forth with a little bit of water. And it makes the sky look extra neat. So you're blending up the colors you put down for your sky and making a really cool sunset. All right, once you feel satisfied with your sky, we're gonna let that part sit at the top and kind of dry off, and we're gonna start working down here on our desert scene. So to do your plateaus, what's really interesting about this kind of dirt is it has like an orangish reddish tint. So you could have your dirt have, and it also sometimes has like little kind of stripes you can see within the rock and the dirt. So you can add in some orange. I'm going to kind of go up around that edge. And you can take a little brown and work that in with the orange, kind of doing some little stripes. And you can use colored pencils, you can use crayons, whatever materials you have. Other colors we could add a little bit of red. You could add some light orange or tan. So you can just be kind of going through your colors and thinking about what you would like to use. I think I'll add a little stripe of the red in here. And then I'll finish it off with that yellow orange. And that is a beautiful plateau. So I could then work on my little plants up here. You could add a little tiny plant if you want, have some different plant life up there. Then you can work on your mountain. And so you can just be coloring in different items on your page. You could start working on the ground, you could start working on your plants. The plants are going to be lots of different beautiful greens. And you can use your markers or your colored pencils or your crayons, or do like I do, where I like to kind of combine them all. So I'm just kind of outlining this and adding some shadow. And this one's further in the background, so I'll imagine it's a little bit darker. And then we can start working on this other mountain and just get that all kind of colored in. Now with the plants, we can use a variety of greens and different colors. And don't forget that when you push lighter, you can get a lighter value of that green. And then you can take that same color you have and push darker and get a darker value and give it some shadow and some definition. And I like how some of these succulent plants even have like kind of a bluish green hue. So I'm going to get out my blue-green crayon and I can add a little bit of that onto this one and give it that fun coloring that I really like, that I see in a lot of succulent plants. And you can use your green marker and add in some of those spikes on the cactus. That really kind of brings it to life. So just short little spiky movements with your marker. And then on your bigger cactuses, you can use a combination of your light green and your dark green. And then again, you can go ahead and add in some rows of spikes. Might have some going down. Sometimes they go kind of in little lines on these kind of cactuses, like in little rows they have spikes. And then we can go ahead and color in those beautiful plants that the cactuses have, which often are reds and pinks and oranges. So we can put those beautiful flowers that really make these stand out. I like layering the colors. Oh, I am just loving that. So your next step is to go ahead and just finish coloring in all of your plant life. Once you've got all those plants colored in the colors you want them, you can look around and see if there's any other spaces where you maybe want to add another little shrub or plant. You could put some little purple plants. You could put some shorter little plants over here. So you can just be adding in some different little cactuses and desert shrubs if you want. And then we're going to go ahead and do the sandy ground. So there's not a lot of grass in the desert. A lot of times it's just sand. So I'm going to take my yellow crayon first, and I'm just going to add a layer of the yellow crayon to the ground. It smears a little bit of the green, but it leaves a cool shadow, so I'm not too worried about it. So we're just going to fill in that yellow sand everywhere. I do need to turn my paper so I can get to all the different spots here. All right, once you have your yellow sand, then in places you can add some brown to make it like a darker colored sand. It also looks cool because it gives it kind of a shadow. So if you kind of have it tapered down and not just go straight down, but kind of bring it over, it makes like a cool shadow in your sand. You can do one over here, have the shadow with the brown on top of the yellow, and it just gives it a cool shadow effect. And then you can add a little shadow underneath your plants if you want. And something else you could do is you could take a little bit of the green and just put some little patches of where some little shrub grass is, if you want. And this picture is just really starting to come together, and it's such a cool desert scene. You've got your desert plants, you've got your amazing watercolor style sky that you did with your markers, you've got your mountains, your plateaus, your cacti, and that is just really turning into an amazing desert picture. So think about the details you want to add to yours, and then I can't wait to see what you create.